Hello there, my Next Gen fam. Welcome to another episode of Mentor Moments with Next Gen HQ. We're so excited to have you here, and we just want you to sit back, take out your notebook, and enjoy the conversation to come. We are so honored to have Sirena Abalian on with us today. Sirena is a mindset coach and a public speaker. She's got a ton of experience really helping individuals find empowerment, find joy, find passion in their life. She's really had a lot of experiences throughout her personal and professional career that have all kind of culminated into who she is and the personal brand that she is building today. Serena, we are so excited and honored to have you on with us.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Where are you calling in from in this wide world of ours?
Good old Boston, Massachusetts.
Boston is my favorite place in the world.
Is it really?
I went to school in Providence, and I would go to Boston almost every other week because I love it so much.
I love that. Yes, it's nice. Fall in New England is the best. Like, people can fight me on that. It's the best. I'm looking out my window and all there is like beautiful foliage, and I'm so happy.
Oh my gosh, it is just the best. I'm actually trying to get to Boston over the next few weeks or so. So I'll have to ping you when I'm there.
Please, please do. Please do. Yes, let's meet in real life because Zoom is only so exciting.
Amazing. Well, to get all of the next geners watching this involved in this little fest that we're having, Serena, we're going to welcome you first off to do a little bit of a Next Gen HQ tradition with us, which is some rapid fire questions. So all buckled in, all ready to go?
I'm ready.
Amazing. What is one book that you'd recommend to others?
Ooh, one book, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
That's such a classic. Like everyone needs to read that at least once
Everybody
in their
does.
lives.
It's super easy read too, so just dive in and get it done.
We love that. What is a top productivity hack that you have?
Oh, my favorite is I have to always like put aside time for like wiggles is what I call them because I'm positive I have, an attention deficit something and I could really only sit for like 10 or 15 minutes. So I always like I try to go into a handstand and like get the juices flowing or just like put on some music and like dance for literally 30 seconds. It makes me so much more productive.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Time
Yeah.
for the wiggles.
Yeah.
That is perfect. And who has been the most influential person on your journey, whether that's someone you kind of personally know or you've just kind of watched and sat from the background?
Most influential is 110% my inner child. She's the person that has brought me to where I am today. She, has been my savior. And I always am like checking in with her as much as possible because she's like my most truest guiding light. I call her like my Jiminy Cricket almost.
Oh my gosh, that is perfect. And what a beautiful answer to that. I've definitely never had anyone answer that question with that before. Amazing. So now that we know you a little bit more personally, we're going to dive right into your story. I want to get into the good stuff and hear how you've kind of landed where you are today, doing the things that you are. Of course, before we got on this interview, I did a little research on my own on your fantastic website and everything you have going on. But one thing that really piqued my interest, kind of throwing it back into your educational sphere, was that you have 2 degrees in what seems like very different spheres. So one within kind of the public relations and advertising, and then one within environmental studies. I was wondering kind of what called you to follow both of those paths and how you still find yourself using that education and that knowledge that you learned to this day.
Yes. So I would like to be a self-proclaimed like Jill of all trades. I really do. I've always just been so curious and like dabbling in so many things. I've loved school, oddly enough, or I love learning, I guess. I don't know if I love school, but I love learning. And in saying that, it was, growing up, I was a professional actor and I thought that's exactly what I wanted to do. And then, of course, like your gears shift and I went to college for like 2 different, like I went for American Sign Language. And then I changed my major because it like, I loved it. I loved it. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. But I was like, there's something else. Changed my major to fashion PR. And I loved that. And I think from there, my experience was learning about collaboration and business and marketing and advertising and understanding that world. And then from there, I actually hopped and finished my degree in environmental studies because of one course that I took. when I was at the art college, which was called Social Change Communications. And I was a junior level course. I wasn't supposed to be in it. The teacher was extremely intimidating, but hands down, it was probably the biggest like pivoting moment in my youthful education career. And that is what really brought me to start questioning a lot of things and being even more inquisitive than I was before, and kind of getting deeper into what my why is, what my purpose is, what all of our purposes are here. So took some time off, then went and finished my degree in the environmental studies, and I focused solely on sustainable fashion because I had that fashion background and I loved it. My eyes were opened even more. I won't lie, it was a little bit of a depressing degree to kind of have, to kind of sit and lecture and not, have professors that are even saying like, we don't totally know what's going to happen in the near future, but at the same time it was very empowering because we knew that we were the ones that were trying to push that needle. So I think having both experiences, I went to university in two different countries here in Canada. So I really tried to spread it all out and get like my feet wet in all different areas as much as possible. And I think that's what has made me so quote unquote successful, I guess, today, or just feeling so grounded and happy with what I do, is because I kind of get to play in so many different arenas and get to connect with people in that way.
And do you feel that that also kind of connects to this larger why that you were able to kind of get to that point of understanding? You think that that also has a lot of areas of play in it?
Absolutely. My journey was not, from A to Z at all. It was a major roller coaster. I battled a lot of mental illness throughout the way, and that was extremely eye opening as well. And for me, it just constantly became that thing of, we're expecting 18-year-olds to know what they want to do and throwing them into university, which is a beautiful experience. And I'm positive all of us miss it looking back on it now. But it was one of those that I had this like deeper yearning, this like, I call them like my little nudges or something that are telling me that there's something else, there's something bigger that you're meant for. And I was just determined to keep working to find it. And that's what kind of had me have that very up and down narrative. But at the same time, it's always a great story to tell, and people are so curious and intrigued. So I actually think it's a strength rather than a weakness to have kind of jumped around like that. So that's kind of the biggest thing that I try to share with, my younger sister who is a freshman in university right now.
I love that concept of little nudges, and it's really just the universe kind of telling us like we think that this is a good area for you, or this is something that you should explore. And then the empowerment that you find when you actually follow through with one of those nudges, there's nothing in the world like that experience.
Exactly, exactly. And the simplest thing of, everything happens for a reason, and being
Yeah.
put into a class that I was not supposed to be put into, and then have it be this
Mhm.
major changing part of my life, I never would have seen coming or been able to have planned it. So
Absolutely. On that note, and maybe this was kind of even one of the nudges that we're going to dive into a little bit, but I did see that you had a long stint as a professional actor, actually. But then it seemed as though there was kind of a transition from that into becoming who you are today, which is an entrepreneur and building your own business and your own brand. Do you mind taking us back to that moment of, you know what, this isn't for me, this thing that I've done for years, but I'm being called to this, and kind of the obstacles that you had to get past to really follow that nudge, if you will?
yes. So I've been acting in Boston professionally since I was about 6 years old. And yeah, it's been an absolute journey. You could call me a natural. I've enjoyed all of my times on stage. And it was home. It still is home to me. The stage is home in so many ways. And for me, I think it's never gone away. I did it from however old I was, 6 to like 18. I definitely was burnt out by the time I was 18 because I was, still going to school every day, and then going to rehearsal for 6 hours afterwards was a lot, but it was worth all of it. For me, I think what I began to realize was I had so much passion for this thing, this storytelling, being in other people's shoes, the community of it, the singing, the dancing, all of that sort of stuff. And I realized that what mattered most to me was the fact that I could kind of keep that pure and not have it be my job where I had to take a role just to pay the bills, or I couldn't kind of take this smaller role at a small theater that, isn't providing a lot of money but would allow me to grow my own experience or tell a story I was super passionate about. And when I realized that shift, that kind of choice that I had to make between the two at that point of time in my life, that's when I was like, you know what? Maybe there is something else that is calling me, that can be my business, my other passion. And what's been really, really, really cool and gets me so excited is that I actually did just do a show for the first time in 4 years in Boston, pre-pandemic, back in January, and it was a thrill to be back on stage. It was like riding a bike again. But what I've realized and learned in this last year is that what I had thought of as the stage was not my only option, but that experiences like this is also my stage, and podcasts and, telling my message and having speeches or just coaching is my stage. It's my little apple box that I get to stand on. And so for me, that fills my cup as much as it did to be an actor. And I do have little stints where I get to do little bits and pieces of acting here and there. And that's just like the cherry on top.
Love that. I'm immediately trying to think of this quote. I think it comes from a poem somewhere that all of life is a stage.
Mhm.
I'll have to go back and look who said this, but I know that is a true thing that I'm thinking of. And I think it's perfectly that lesson that you've been able to experience, that we are who we are at our core. That never changes. And a lot of the reasons that we do things is connected to that core, but maybe the medium that we do them on is very different. So for you, you approach things with this hope of wanting to share who you are and your joy and your power with the world. And it ends up being all of a stage, whether that's actually physical or if it's a little bit more metaphorical.
Exactly, exactly.
Amazing. I'm really curious to go back to something that you mentioned before in the rapid fires about this idea of the inner child, because I also know that it seems like this is something that's really close to you and kind of the mission that you're building as well. How did you come to understand, first off, kind of what that whole situation even kind of like really means, and then also how to influence your business and your kind of path forward with that mentality?
Yes. So the inner child, or my inner child, I guess, did come to me in a very out of body sort of experience, which can be hard to explain. But it came at one of like the darkest points in my life. I was about, I don't know, 19, or yeah, I think I was 19. And I was at the aquarium, a Boston aquarium, which if anyone's ever been, it's absolutely beautiful. And it's a super special place in my heart because I love sea turtles. They're my favorite animal. And so I was there, but I was really battling my anxiety and depression at the heightened that I've ever had to deal with it, that summer. And I remembered walking into the aquarium and, stepping in and looking around and not enjoying myself at all. And I almost had this like voice or something was just telling me, like, I'm confused. Aren't we supposed to be loving this right now? Like, aren't we supposed to be so, so happy that we get to see our favorite animal in person? And that kind of stopped me, like, full stop. And I remember going home that night and trying to, like, kind of figure out where this voice came from. And I realized that it actually was my most pure version of myself, this part that's stripped of ego, that is just your subconscious kind of. And I imagined her, as the little version of me, and like sat her across my bed. And I was like, okay, what do we do? Like, I know this isn't me. I know I want to get out of this and, and live and like, and heal this and move past this. But I feel so lost. I felt so disconnected. And she looked at me like frustrated and kind of like disassociating. Like she didn't even almost know who I was because I had stripped myself so far from that. And over the last, 4 or 5 years, I basically just devoted my life to figuring her out and then learning that this tool, because they really are a tool, is one of the most potent and powerful ways of, whether you want to call it healing or even just productivity or whatever it is. You basically get to externalize a part of you that is your most truest. It's not like tainted by anything else. No one's bullying it aside from you, so you have to be kind, right? But you get to externalize it and look at it from this very different perspective. And as us humans, we love to take care of other things and not ourselves. So when I was like, okay, let me put this little kiddo outside of me, dress her how I want her to be dressed, put her in the hairstyle that I want her to be in, and then like talk to her and check in with her and see how she's doing, and have her mentor me, and then me in turn also be able to guide her and make her feel safe and loved.
So much of it just about understanding who you are and the experiences and the environments that have made you and the person that you hope to be in the future. It kind of feels like a lot of that is within this inner child concept that you have.
It's totally just a different mindset to be in,
Yeah.
you know? And I think when you really tap into that and you like have them as your little sidekick, then you constantly get this reminder, and like as it's literally like it's like a notification on your phone, where anytime you kind of feel like you're at a crossroads, or you are feeling in these different emotions or whatnot, or even in my business, like if I'm gonna have a call on someone and like something in me is like, I don't really know, and I'll check with my inner child, and kids are blunt as heck. They're black and white. They'll tell you like, I don't want to hang out with them today, or I don't want to play with them. And when I listen to that, I really get to honor like my actual wants. And I'm like, you know what? That actually doesn't serve my business, or this client actually is not a perfect fit for me. So, I'm going to honor that. And it's changed my business, my outlook on life, and definitely for my clients too.
I love that. I'm learning a lot of the lesson, and my best friend has kind of imposed this on me. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And it seems like that is kind of exactly tied to this. The little child is going to say, maybe not use that language, but they're going to say, nope, don't want it, don't need it. Or, yes, I want that piece of candy sitting on the shelf right now.
Exactly, exactly. And what I learned was how much I was bullying my inner child. Like fitness has been a big portion of my life as I've gone through my healing. I was never an athlete as a kid. I hated it. I cried during gym class, didn't want anything to do with it. Yes, right?
Yep.
But somehow it was part of my healing process, and it pretty much saved my life. And it's one of those things now where I get to look at it and look at her and check in, like even when I'm working out, and I'm like, okay, am I pushing us like in a good way,
Mhm.
to really have us like go that extra mile? Or am I genuinely just bullying her and making her feel like she's not enough, and she's not good enough, when right now she just really can't finish this workout or this run or whatever. And that shift for me has made a big difference.
I could talk to you about this for a very, very long time, but we need to kind of wrap this up so everyone can continue on with their days, but taking all of these goodies with them. But Serena, to ask you one final question before we wrap up, you are such a strong and powerful leader, and you're empathetic in what you're doing and helping others kind of find along their way. But if you could kind of tell me what your hope for the next generation of leaders would be, individuals who will follow in your footsteps, what would that hope be?
My hope is that they too find a way to connect to their inner child and have them as their greatest mentor through all the ups and downs, and just truly honoring that, because I think our world needs that right now.
I love that so much. If a next gener wants to come chat with you a little bit more on this, anything that we've talked about, how can they come connect with you?
Yep, Instagram is the best way. I'm super active on it, always in my DMs. So it's just my first and last name, and I'm right on there.
Everyone, you heard it directly from Sirena herself. Get onto Instagram, go see all the posts that she's doing, all of this chat about inner child, and let's work together to find ours and build ours together. Serena, thank you so
Thank you.
much. And to everyone watching, we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.